Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF Hayomi Maseches Bava Kamma DAF Yud Aleph. We got up to the last line of Yud Amid Beis. Leima Pechas Nevela Tanoihi. So in yesterday's DAF we learned that although it is typical standard procedure for a mazik to use any sort of form of payment, any sort of commodity to pay for that damage. Afilu subin, you can use even bran. And certainly you can allow the nizak, the victim of the hezek, to just hold on to the nevela, the carcass, the shur that was killed during this episode. So that's standard, that's pashut. But when the Torah adds the words v'hameis yeloi, the mace belongs to him, to the nizak. The Torah here is teaching us that aside from the actual fact that he can obligate the nizak to hold on to that nevela and discount the value of that nevela from his bill, there's more than that. Pechas nevela. Even the loss of value that occurred between the actual episode where the shur was killed and the moment where he was obligated to pay for that damage via Bezdin, there was a reduction in value, there was a loss due to spoilage, etc. It's on the nizak. So basically the mazik will discount from his bill the value of that nevela at the time of the episode. So it was worth 100 then, even though it's down to 75, the mazik gets a $100 reduction from his bill. So perhaps, says the Gemara, this is really not so simple. It's a machlekes tanoim. This concept of pechas nevela, loss of value, depreciation, being on the nizak, perhaps that's not so simple. Leima pechas nevela tanoi, perhaps it's machlekes tanoim. Who incurs that loss of value? This on you have a brayso. In Toreif Yitoreif Iviyeu Aid. This is a Shomer Sacher hired to watch an animal. It was attacked, it was killed by another animal. Yavi Aid. What does that mean? Tana Kamma explains. Well, it was out of his control. It was an Oynes. Shomer Sacher's potter. Yavi Aidim. All he needs to do is bring some witnesses to prove his case that in fact Shenitrifa Ba'oynes was attacked. Ba'oynes, totally out of his control. Upater, this exempts him. Abu Shaleimer, he has a different way of learning the pasuk. Aid, Yavi Aid means Yavi Aduda Lebezin. Rashi says Aduda is lashon of nevela, the remnant, the shalom, the luta, the remnant. He brings it to Bezdin. Who brings who to Bezdin? The mazik. We're not speaking about an oynes, otherwise there's no need to pay, of course. Rather, Abu Shol is sort of shifting gears. We're speaking that the Shomer Sacher was negligent, he was careless, he was peisheya, and he's responsible for the consequences. He has to pay for the lost animal. But he gets a reduction. Whatever the animal was worth at the time of the attack, at the time of the misa, that's what gets deducted from the Shomer Sacher's bill. In this case, the Shomer Sacher is like the mazik because he was responsible. So he gets that fee reduction. And that's the point of bringing the nevela to Bezdin. Basically, hurry up. As soon as it happens, run with the nevela to Bezdin. Look, it's worth 100. I want that to be deducted from my bill. And that's who? Abu Shol speaking, as opposed to the Tana Kamma, who did not have this type of interpretation of the pasuk. And according to the Tana Kamma, we have no source that pechas nevela, any further depreciation in value of that nevela, will be billed to the nizak, will be on the nizak. We have no source for that. So it would appear that the machlekes revolves around this question: who incurs that loss of value? The Mara Samar pechas nevela de nizakavi. Abba Shol holds the pechas nevela, loss of value, subsequent to the incident, is on the nizak. And therefore Abba Shol says, hurry up, bring the nevela to Bezdin. Let them appraise the nevela now for its current value, because what happens later is it's not on me. It's on the nizak. Umar Savar the Mazakavi, Tanakama, who does not have this drasha, learns no. Until you actually go ahead and pay with this nevela, any loss of value is on you. Whatever it's worth at the time of payment, fine. It's worth 75 today. You get a reduction of 75 from your bill, but just because it was worth 100 at the time of the incident doesn't help you. Umar Sabah the Mazakavi, the Mazik loses that depreciation. So is it so? Is it a machlekes tanoim? Loi, says the Gemara, the Kul Yam the Nizak. Perhaps all agree the Nizak has to carry that loss. Machlekes is simply a question of who has to make the effort to bring the nevela from where it was, killed, to the bring it, into town, bring it to where it's, has value. Vatanya, in fact, we have a brayso that discusses this very point. Acherim oimrim, menayin shal ba'al habar, lahalois shoyr mibar. How do we know that the owner of the pit in which the animal was killed has to actually get a crane, extract the nevela, and bring it out of the bar and give it to the owner? He must repay, and also the mace. You have to pay the money and the mace. You have to get the mace out and bring it back to the owner. So that's the shita of achirim. And likewise, Abba Shol says the same thing. You have to bring the nevela. Right? You have to retrieve the lost animal. Whereas the Tanakama does not have that drush. I don't understand what's going on. We're obligating the mazik to recover the animal. Why? What's going on with the tircha for the nevela? Shall we say that down in the pit, the carcass is worth $1, and up on the top of the pit, outside, it's worth $4. Well, obviously he's going to put in the effort to get it out because it's all his gain. The mazik will get now, more gain by having the nevela extracted. Ki tarach b'denafshei tarach. His toil, his effort is for his own sake. We don't have to obligate him to do that. Amar leis. So Rava responds, Leisricha must be speaking to Bebira Shavi Zuzah. Down in the pit it's worth $1. Agud Navi Shavi Zuzah, and out of the pit it's also worth $1. So really he has no monetary gain by bringing the nevela out, and that's what the Torah has to obligate him to do so. Is there such a situation where down in the pit it's worth the same as outside, despite the fact that you need, get a crane to pull them out? Yeah, it actually is true. It can happen. The Amri Inshi, as people say, Kishura, a joist, a beam, B'masa, bezuzah. In town, in the lumber yard, it's worth a zuz. Kishura b'dabra, bezuzah likewise. Out in the field, in the forest, also worth a zuz, despite the fact that there is transportation costs, because in terms of the actual value of the actual item, it's the same. Amar Shmuel. Although we learn that when it comes to nizaken, you can get credit. You can be credited for the value of the broken item or the killed animal, right? So that's deducted from the perpetrator's bill, but it's specific to a masik. Omar Shmuel Ein Sham. We don't do that. We don't evaluate and estimate and appraise the lost broken item here and credit it to your bill. In a case where a person stole or robbed. So he robbed it and then it died. You don't get away with paying the animal and then just, add the difference. You don't do that. You pay 100% because after all, you took an animal and that's what you're obligated to return. A full animal, a healthy animal. You can't just, give him broken pieces and pay the rest. El Nizaken, this is unique for Mazik because Mazik, he didn't actually steal anything. He damaged, he injured, right? He brought down the value of that item. So that's what he's responsible to do. He has to make up for lost value. Here, take the nevela and I'll pay the rest. Vani Oyman Shmuel adds, you know what? My opinion is afle shoyel. The same applies to a borrower of an item. Now, what did he mean? We'll see in a minute. Va'aba Maidli. In fact, Abba, this was a endearing term to Rav, regarding Rav. Rav agrees with me. He's on my side. Now, what do you mean to say regarding shoyel? Iboilu. So the Bnei Yeshiva were wondering what he meant. Bava Kamma, did he mean to say af l'shoyel shaman, just like we do this concept of shuma, where you praise the injured and the damaged goods and apply it to the credit of the mazik? Does that apply to a shoyel as well? You borrow a car and it breaks down, you can give him back the car, get credit for that, and pay the rest. Va'aba moidli, and Rab is in agreement with me on that. Or perhaps the other way around. That just like by Ganav and Gazlan, we don't do this Shuma system. Same thing with Shoyel, because when he borrowed that item, he undertook full responsibility to return it as is. No broken pieces. Va'aba moidli, and Rab agrees with me on that as well. So which way? Yes or no? By Shoyel. Tashma, I'll bring a raya that it's no. Ta'ugavra, this fellow, the Shoyel, Nargim Mechaver, he borrowed an axe from his friend. Taver, he broke it. Out of negligence. Pshia. He's fully responsible. Also, Kamei the Rav, he comes to Rav. Amal Izil Shlim Le Nargim Alya. He says, you know what, you're a Shoyel, you're responsible. Right? Whatever happens to it is totally your responsibility, even if it was ba'inus, right? Pay him a full axe. Get him a new axe. You can't return, the broken axe and just pay him the difference. In Shamin, that proves that Shuma does not apply to Shoyel. Adrab, just the opposite. Mid'am, related Rav Kahana Ravasi l'Rav. The Talmid Rav Kahana Ravasi turned to Rav after issuing this verdict, and they said, "What do you mean, Dina Hachi? This is the way the halacha was said, meaning, why not?" Vishasak and Rav remained silent. Shma min Shamin. So in fact, we seem to perceive that Rav agreed with them that you can credit the damaged goods to the shoyel. Itma, we have a discussion on Amar Ula, Amar Belazar, Shaman l'ganav l'gazlan. Just like by Nizakan, the same by Ganav l'gazlan, we allow for return of damaged goods and repayment of the difference. Rav Papi Amar Ein Shaman, no. Vilchasa Ein Shaman, that's the halacha lo l'ganav l'gazlan. Aval l'shoyel, we do Shaman. Why? Because Rav Kahana Ravasi, because of their response to Rav, they held that, unlike a Ganav l'gazlan, who's totally responsible for the return of the actual item, a shoyel is not he took it to use. He took responsibility. If it gets hurt, if it gets damaged, if it gets broken, I got to pay the loss of value. Here, take the actual item, I'll pay the difference. So speaking about Ula, who quotes Rabbi Lazar, we have a string of halachas coming up from the same source. Ve'amar Ula, unrelated to halacha of Nizakin, but just because it's the same source. Ve'amar Ula, Amar Lazar. Shilya, you have this embroic sack in which the fetus is housed. So this shilya, shiyatza miktsasa, the isha gave partial birth. So the shilya left the isha, miktsasa b'yem rishon, miktsasa b'yem sheni, partially on Sunday, partially on Monday. And we know that when the isha gives birth, it triggers the yemei tumah. She becomes tamei. 2 months later, for let's say 2 weeks by in a cave, and then she switches to yemei tahara, which she's tar even if she sees dam. So what happens if there was a partial birth on Sunday and completed on Monday? We begin counting the Yemei Tumah. She's tummy 2 months later, starting from Sunday. Why? Because we're concerned that perhaps in this Miktzah Shoya was contained most of the dissolved, Vlad fetus material, which constitutes a halachic Leda, halachic birth, which makes her tummy 2 months later. Amalei Rav, Rav responds to him. This is really just an uncertainty. It's l'chumra. Ma daitech. Why are you starting the count on Sunday? L'chumra. Because you're concerned that perhaps this constitutes a birth. Well, chumra, you should know that it's a chumra which leads into a leniency, because the komataris lamarishan, just like you're starting the Yemei Tumah on Sunday, you're advancing it to Sunday. Well, in 2 weeks' time, you're going to start the Yemei Tahara a day earlier. Rather than starting from Monday's count, you're starting from Sunday's count. So it's true that it's a chumrah for Yemei Tumah, but subsequently it's going to be a kula for Yemei Tahara. Elam Rava says, Rava, lochush chesheshes. Regarding Yemei Tumah, you start on Monday. On Sunday, you're cheshesh that in fact it was a late on Sunday, but mimna, like mimnaya, l'sheni, but the actual count only begins on Monday. So basically it's a chumrah on both sides. So the Yemei Tumah started a day early, but the Yemei Tahara only started a day later. So what's the point of this whole halacha? The ein miktzas shilya b'levlad. It's based on a premise that in every portion of that shulya, there's some presence of vlad material. In which case we say, okay, maybe it was most of the vlad material, in which case it was a leda. Because were it not so, says Rashi, was there a tzad, was there room to think that, a mitzvah shulya doesn't necessarily contain any vlad material, maybe this part is just, void, empty. Then you would not say there's chumrah, because then it would be a double suffix, double uncertainty, a svek sveka. Maybe there's some vlad in there, maybe there isn't. And even if there is it the majority of the dissolved vlad or not? So it's a double suffix, which would not present any concern. Throughout the whole Torah we say svek is not a problem. So the fact that we are concerned indicates that we are working with the premise that every drop of that shulya has some vlad material. And then there's just one suffix. Is it 49% or 51%? So we'll machmir. Well, if that's the Chiddush Tanina, we already have that discussed elsewhere in a Mishnah. Shulya sheyatzim ektsasa. So although when you shechta a behem, when you find an unborn animal within it that's called ben pekua, you can eat it without shechita. But if there was a partial birth, shulya sheyatzim ektsasa, asur b'achilos, even if it was a partial birth, only partially, and then it came back to the animal, then you discovered that upon slaughtering the animal, you can't eat it. Because the shulya has part of the vlad, and that's a siman vlad b'isha, siman vlad b'behema. It's an indication of birth by the isha, by the behema. So this halacha as well is based on this premise that every drop of shulya has vlad. So why discuss it again? Well, even masnis navamina, if it's only from that Mishnah, I would say merely, really, the yesh miktzas shulya b'li vlad. Perhaps a small portion of the shulya doesn't necessarily contain any vlad. And the reason why we don't allow you to eat the unborn animal found within the mother animal after shechita is midrabanan. Ugzeira miktsasa atakula. Because if you're going to allow that animal to be eaten, in a case where only part of the shulya left the animal because of this svara that it's a sveka, we don't know, we have no idea. What happens next time when the whole shulya leaves and comes back to the animal? You would still eat it upon the shechita of the mother, which of course is not allowed. In that case, it's a full birth. So it's midrabanan. One situation might lead to the other, and therefore it's asur. But Ru says that this halacha is based on a premise that every drop of shulya has vlad. There it's a gzera d'rabbanan, so it's asur. But back in our story with the isha, there would be no room for a gzera. Rashi explains, you know why? Everybody sees. On Monday when the isha gave birth, mazel tov. Oh, now it's a real birth. People will realize. So even if you discount Sunday's partial birth, people won't make that mistake, won't misunderstand, they won't walk away with a false perception that if most of all the vlad comes out, it's not a leda. Of course, you see some Monday, mazel tov, we start the count of the May leda, right? So here there's no room for any confusion. So perhaps over here you would not make her tummy. So in the case of the behema, there's no mazel tov. You shechted her on the first day, right? After this experience happened, this mitzvah shul, you shechted the animal. So there's no sort of event that highlights the fact that were it to have come out entirely, it would be different. So therefore there's a gezerah, maybe this thing might lead to the next. But by Isha you don't have that concern because everybody sees it's pretty clear and evident that when the child's fully born, now it's a real birth. So there wouldn't be no room for concern, no gezerah, but for the reason that we said before, because Ulas quotes Rabbi Lazar, which is based on the premise that, every drop of shulya contains some vlad material, which case is a concern, and maybe it was most of the vlad, and she's tummy 2 months later. Ve'amar ula, amar b'lazar, another halacha from the same mandamar. B'char shenitraf b'seich lamed yoim ein pay denaiser. If a firstborn, a newborn, a b'char adam, who's meant to be redeemed, using 5 selah to the kohen, was attacked, was killed within 30 days of birth. Ein pay denaiser, there's no concept of pidin aben. And Rashi says, it goes without saying that if he died naturally, then it's evidence that he was not really a viable child. Of course he's pater from Pidin Aben. The Chiddush is even though he was attacked and died unnaturally, you're still pater. The fact that the pasuk sort of doubles the lashon, padei tifte, perhaps I would say even in this case is obligated. Comes the pasuk ach. It says ach padei sifta. Ach is sort of a chilek. It discounts. Only in some cases, but this type of situation does not require pidin haben. Ve'amar ula, Rabbi Lazar, another halacha, behema gasa, a behema from a large species, niknis b'meshicha. How do you acquire the behema? Through meshicha. You bring the behema, you pull it along. That's called meshicha and yukaina. Va'anant non mesira. We have a Mishnah which says that you don't need to do a meshicha, even mesira. The handing over of the reins of the animal to the buyer is enough. So why does Rabbi Lazar say meshicha is required? He's following a different shita. Shitas chachamim. The Sadi have a brayse of a chamayim mezuzah with meshicha, whether it's a behema daka, behema gasa, you need to do meshicha. All types of animals are only acquired through hagbah, through lifting. The Gemara in Kedushin asks, well, how do you acquire an elephant? How could you lift an elephant? The Gemara says, chaviles meiros, bundles of reeds, two pshatim there. Either you have the animal climb up the bundle of reeds, that's called hagbah, even though it's not directly you're doing. Well, as Tosfos explains, you sort of entice it, you tempt it. You hang the reeds up in the air, and the elephant lifts itself up, and that's called hagbah. Ve'amar ula amar b'laza. Ha'achan shechalku. You have brothers who are ready to divide their father's estate, their father's Yerusha. Mashalein shaman. So, all along they were sort of getting dressed and using the estate for their own, needs. They were buying clothing and all that. So we go ahead and we appraise even the clothing that they're wearing, and that gets applied. That gets sort of, deducted from their portion, right? We don't do that regarding clothing that the children are wearing. Rashi explains, because little kids are not summoned to the bezdin. It's not the derech, so it's assumed that they sort of forgive the children's wardrobes. And that doesn't get discounted from their chelik, from the Yerusha. And we're speaking about the iktanim, says the Mordechai, the iktanim. Sometimes even the actual adults' clothing are not accounted for. How? For instance, the elder brother who represents them, he's the lawyer. He represents them and represents the estate. So they're okay with him getting dressed nicely and formally, respectfully, and they're not going to hold it against him. They're not going to discount it from his portion. If a fellow was entrusted with an item, please watch my cow, and he goes and transfers that item to somebody else to watch, and something goes wrong, it gets stolen, potter. So the first fellow, Reuven, who gave it to Shimon, is potter because he's a shem rechinam. He wasn't get paid for his services, and just as if it would have been stolen by him, he would be potter. Same thing if it happens by Shimon. He's not more responsible than if it were sitting by him. And it goes without saying, if he actually benefited the owner by doing this transfer, Reuven was doing this as a favor, and he handed it to Shimon for pay. In that case, it's a much better deal for the owner. He increased, he heightened the level of security because Shimon is getting paid. He's more committed. Certainly it works. But even if it were the other way around, Reuven was getting paid and he handed it to Shimon for free. Which is a downgrade in terms of Shimon's commitment, in terms of the level of protection. Now, even in this case, it's Potter Shari Musal Ben Das, because Reuven says, look, I gave it to a responsible person. Don't hold it against me. Rava disagrees. Rava Amar, I asked you to do it, not him. And certainly, if Reuven was getting paid and now he relegated it to Shimon, who's doing it as a free service, the Grui Gar Shmirasa, which is a downgrade in terms of the commitment, in terms of the level of protection, of course, Reuven is chayiv. But even if it were the other way around, he gave it to Hashem Masachah, so he upgraded the level of Shmir Chayiv, he's chayiv, and Rashi says, even if it was an Einus, if a total accident happened. You know why? Because the owner can tell his good friend Reuven, I have no idea. Maybe he was careless. So typically you make a shvur, you swear, you make an oath to protect your reputation, to establish your story. I don't trust him. I trusted you, not him. When you make a shua, I believe you. Hi, loy mehamad b'shua, I don't trust him. Ve'amar ulam Rabbi Elazar. Another halacha. Hilchasa. Goyvid man avodim. Halacha is, just as a creditor, a bank, can go and collect from properties of the loiva who defaulted on his loan, you can also go and access his slaves, his eved kanani, because an eved has a din of karka. It's like real estate. You have an actual ownership, inherent ownership in the eved. He's part of your estate. Amalei Rav Nachman Ulas. Rav Nachman asked him, Amar Rabbi Elazar, Fri May Yasmi. You quoted your blesser, right? Did he maintain that the Baal Chayv can go and access the avodim of even orphans after the father's passing, just as he can access the properties that were left over? So the halacha is that Yisayimim are not committed, are not obligated to repay their father's loan, except if the father left behind an estate, real estate, but not when it comes to just commodities and belongings and metaltlin. So here you seem to say that avodim are treated like karka with respect to collection from the Yisayimim on their father's, bill. So he says, no, loy. I meant from the actual borrower. I didn't mean Yisayimim. Well, minay, you need to tell me that a bank could go repossess the avodim of a borrower? Of course. I feel a miglimad al kaspei. They can even take the shirt off his back. So what's the point of discussing avodim? Hachav my skin was speaking sh'aseh apoiteki. He sold the eved, but he made him an apoiteki to the bank. Apoiteki, says Rashi, stands for 3 words. Apoi teheka. Your loan is positioned on this item. This is now earmarked for collection in case I default. Rava, as Rava says, the Amar Rava, if a borrower labels the eved as not poitik and then he goes and sells them, can the Baal Chayv collect? Yes, Baal Chayv goyve himenu, just as the Baal Chayv can collect real estate which was sold, he can do the same with the avodim. Sharia poitik machar, if the his ox was turned into a poitik and that was sold, and Baal Chayv goyve himenu, Baal Chayv has no right to access that. You know why? Because poor buyer, he has no idea, he had no clue that this thing was earmarked for the bank. My time, when you do that to an eved, everybody knows, this eved is not poitiki, be aware, keep away. This guy owes a lot of, don't buy his avodim. If you did so, it's at your own risk, and the Baal Chayv has the right to access it. But when it comes to, an ox, that's not something which is a notable item, and just because you turned it into a poitiki, it's not commonly known, and therefore you cannot hold the buyer accountable for buying this item, and therefore the Baal Chayv has no right to repossess the eved. Now, this was part of the discussion between Rav Nachman and Ula, because Ula presented that eved is eligible for repossession. Rav Nachman asks him, "What do you mean, from Yisayimim as well?" He says, "No. I mean, if he sold it, if he made him a poitiki, and then he sold him." And Tosfos says, in this case, even if it's from Yisayimim, once you made an apoitiki, it's sort of bound and committed to the father's loan. So it's a special case because of the apoitiki factor. But otherwise, no, eved is not treated like karka. Lebasa de nafaks. After Rav Nachman left the room, Amar lu Ula, so Ula turns to the people around him. You should know, Hachi Amar Rabbi Elazar. You remember I quoted Rabbi Elazar that you can be guided from avodim? Guess what? Afilu miyasmi. He really meant that the Baal Chayv can go to the Yisayimim and collect an eved of the father to be applied to the debt, the father's debt. Even Yisayimim have that obligation, because just as you can access the karka of Yisayimim, likewise an eved is like karka. So I didn't say this in front of Rav Nachman, but truthfully, Rabbi Elazar equated an eved to karka. Amar Rav Nachman. So now Rav Nachman heard about this follow-up discussion. He said, "Ishtamt and Ula." Ula was, sort of sidestepping me. He was avoiding me. He didn't want to tell me the full halacha. Concerned that I would go and challenge him, because Rav Nachman held that eved is not like karka. Hava uvda ben Arda. In fact, there was a story in Arda regarding the Baal Chayv who wanted to access the avodim due to their father's loan. Va'adbu Dayanim and Arda. Dayanim and Arda allowed him to repossess the avodim. They treated avodim like karka. Same story. Ava uvda b'fum v'disa. Same thing. Va'adbe. Rav Chana bar Bizna. And Rav Chana allowed the Ba'choiv to collect the avodim. Amar Rav Nachman, it's not Rav Nachman who disagree with this, turned to them and said, look, Zilu Adura, quickly, return the avodim to the Yisayim. Otherwise, I'm going to have them repossess your, foreclose your pallet, your large homes. Basically, Rav Nachman disagreed. Evidence like metaltlim, and metaltlim of Yisayim are not accessible to the Balchayv. Amalei Rav Nachman. So Rav, there's another couple of lines. Rav turns to Rav Nachman. Where are you coming from? We have so many opinions of all that evidence like karka, ha'ula, ha'Rabbi Lezer, ha'dayin den arda, ha'ruchamar bizna. Right? They all hold evidence like karka. Mar kaman svirle. Where are you coming from? Where's your source to disagree with them? Amar Leis, he says, I have a source. Ana masni sayedana. I have a brayso that Eved is like metaltlim. We continue Bez Hashem tomorrow. Okay, so in summary, we discussed Pchas Nevela. We thought it was Machlekes Tanoim. We said, no. Everybody agrees Pchas Nevela is on the Nizuk's account. The question is Torach Nevela. Who wants to bring the Nevela to the, back to town or out of the bar? That's the Machlekes. We learned about allowing the mazik to, give back the injured animal, the carcass, the broken goods, and just pay the rest. That's a halacha by mazik. Regarding Ganav and Gazlan, we say no, not allowed. And regarding Shayel, it's allowed as well. We learned the halacha about Shilya, Shiatz Miktsasa, halacha Pidina Ben, Mesira by the Behema Gasa, the Achan Shecholka with the clothing, Shem Shemas Lo Shem Machlekes. When we started the sugya of whether we regard avodim kananim, as a form of real estate of karka, or simply like every other one of your belongings. Hatzlach Rabba to you and B'suras Teves.